Wall Street is in full-on panic mode as several stocks have been halted and some major trading platforms for stocks are restricting the trade of certain companies like GameStop, like AMC. Why? Because the system is broken. For too long, the wealthy elites, the hedge funds, have found a way to strip the value from the working class and make billions for themselves. And finally, a group of internet forum users decided enough was enough. This is an update on a story I covered earlier this morning, but for those that aren't familiar, a subreddit called WallStreet Bets decided that they were tired of the media and market manipulation, corrupt journalists propping up and shooting down stocks to steal money from regular people, and they decided to squeeze out these hedge funds. They bet against GameStop. And so these forum users says, okay, you want to bet against retail? We're going to invest in it for no reason. Essentially, sending the value to the moon. Well, now the establishment cronies and elites, these trading platforms are outraged, calling it market manipulation that must be stopped, demanding regulation. The White House says we are monitoring the situation. Why? Because when the plebs find a way to use your system to make money and get rich, they panic. When the hedge funds are the ones who lose billions of dollars, well, now it's an emergency. Just you wait. I'm willing to bet that following this GameStop price surge, Wall Street hysteria, you're going to see Congress act so fast your head will spin. When it comes to getting the American people a stimulus check they need to survive, it takes months, it takes forever. Why? They don't care about you. The politicians are wealthy. They make trades, they make money, they get to keep that money. You at home, they shut your business down. They shut your life down. They locked everyone down. Let me tell you something. I am mad, okay? Because I see this story about people saying, yo, we found a way to exploit your system. There's risk involved, mind you. Don't take any of this as financial advice. Some people might get hurt from this, regular people. But they finally find a way. We're going to game the system. We're going to play this game. And people are just giving their opinions, just buying stocks they think are going to go up. And so what happens? Wall Street intervenes. The trading platforms intervene to protect, essentially, hedge funds. How is it that our country can send billions of dollars overseas, yet we hear from the left, teachers don't make enough money? And that's true. We hear about the pipes, the water in numerous cities, not just Flint, but other cities. We hear about our crumbling infrastructure, yet they send billions of dollars overseas. Our value, the wealth of the working class, I'm not saying they're wealthy, I'm saying the value they hold is being stripped away and transferred upward, the largest transfer of wealth in history. And now we are seeing the inverse. And what do? They will stomp you out. They will use the system against you, as they often have. The moment you find a path forward, the moment these people revolt, the rules get changed and they halt your trades. Listen, there's real risk involved here. Regular people who are playing this game may lose a lot of money, but I'm seeing posts from people who don't care. You know why? As the GameStop stock skyrockets for seemingly no reason, as the stock of several companies seems to skyrocket for no reason, like there's no movement within the companies and their values just going up, a lot of people who are buying into this might end up holding that hot potato. When the game stops and the price tanks, maybe it'll happen. Those people will have lost their investments. But I tell you this, when one person says, I'm going to risk my stimulus check, maybe only half of it, $300. What's their worst case scenario? They lose $300. Might be bad for them. But when we're talking about millions of people potentially playing this game, one hedge fund could lose substantially more, because the higher this goes, the more indebted they become. I am seeing people say that they don't care. They're going to lose a couple $100 if it means they're sticking it to the man. Let's go through this. Let me show you what's going on with the rules being set. Look at this. GameStop AMC trading is being restricted at TD Ameritrade. And it's not just there. It's even just trading in general getting halted, because the rules are set up so the plebs aren't allowed to win. Whenever you get close, this is what happens. Let's read this. This is going to be fun. This is crazy stuff, man. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Listen, my friends, I am not playing a crazy stock game. I don't have a lot of stocks. I have some. I'm not expecting to make millions and millions of dollars like some of these people have already done. Some people have made millions of dollars. No joke. One dude apparently turned $50K into tens of millions of dollars. It's risk. I'm not here to advise anybody. I'm here to run a regular old YouTube business. If you want to support that business, then please go to timcast.com and become a member. We got exclusive posts. We talked yesterday about Tulsi calling CIA's John Brennan and Adam Schiff domestic enemies. Rock on, Tulsi. That's amazing. And there's real risk to my channel getting banned. And a lot of people don't seem to think so, but it can happen. My Facebook has already been restricted for seemingly no reason. In the event that I get nuked, if you're a member, you'll still be getting content from me in some capacity. And maybe then it'll be a bit more fun. But I'm running a regular old business here. If you guys want to play that game with the stocks, you do you. I do me. Thanks for supporting me. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share the notification bell. Let me show you this news. Breaking news. What was from earlier today. MarketWatch reports at least one major retail-focused brokerage house is starting to respond to a frenetic surge in shares of companies that have been attributed to rabid buying of mom-and-pop investors on social media platforms. On Wednesday, TD Ameritrade said it was restricting trading for GameStop, up 127%, and AMC up 238%. It's so crazy, dude. Look, man, there are people who bought in at a couple bucks, put a couple $100 in, now they got thousands of dollars. It's a risk. It always is. I don't like messing around with the stock market. I don't put a lot of money into it or anything like that. But look how crazy this is. Quote, in the interest of mitigating risk for our company and clients, we have put in place several restrictions on some transactions in GME and AMC and other securities, a spokesman for TD Ameritrade told MarketWatch, referring to the ticker symbols for the companies. We made these decisions out of an abundance of caution amid unprecedented market conditions and other factors. The game is broken. The system is broken. Why is the stock market skyrocketing when our economy is in serious jeopardy during the COVID lockdown? Why? Because the stocks are just traded. It's just that. It's a game of hot potato. WallStreet Bets, they figured it out. One guy, I think the guy who started the subreddit, wrote a book saying boomers created a digital casino for millennials. There's no rhyme or reason to it. GameStop should not be worth this much. It's trading. Here we go. Right now, as of recording, look at this. All throughout the past year, trading around $4. And then just right now, from like $18 at the start of the year to $328 right now. Imagine if you put in $10 a year ago. You'd be up hundreds of dollars on that. Let's say if it was at $8, you'd have $326. It's just nuts. The system is broken. GameStop shouldn't be worth this much, but people finally realize the system was broken, and the market is how they manipulate and steal wealth. It's really, really simple. You know what they do? They go, "Oh no, this stock is failing. Oh man, people should sell." Then they do. You'll get these corrupt media personalities, journalists telling you to panic, to get out while you still can. And then when you panic sell and the value drops, these big funds swoop in, buy it up, and the value goes right back up. Pump, it's you scare people to cause the market to collapse. You buy it up, and the market expands. Then when you're rich, you sell for more cash. Then the market collapses. You buy low, you sell high. You keep doing it. And for the longest time, it's been the wealthy elites in control of this system. Now the system is shattering right before their eyes, and we see stuff like this. Somebody posted this, YOLO. I made it. I've hit 1 million. GameStop to the moon, and a bunch of little rocket emojis. And they're showing they're up $762,000. Now, mind you, this is somebody who had a couple $100,000 to put in as it was. It says exercised my $60 April calls and sold my weekly 160 calls, 3,000 hand shares, yada yada. I'm not a big stock person. I can't tell you exactly, but I can tell you this: the panic is real. Okay, so in my previous segment, I explained this, and it may be redundant for those listening on the podcast, but I'm just going to explain it again very, very quickly. What you have are hedge funds. I believe it's Marvin Capital or Melvin Capital, I'm not sure, and another company. I thought I had it pulled up. I have it pulled up somewhere, but basically, these companies were going to bet that GameStop would fail, a retailer who's doing poorly right now. Here's the idea. Instead of just buying a stock, like if you buy a stock, okay, say you spend $10, you run the risk of losing $10. Let's say you buy a stock for $10 and tomorrow it's worthless. You lost $10. But you can short sell, which means you're placing a bet the stock will fail and you can make money if it does bad. It's just confusing, right? It's actually kind of simple. I go to you and say, I'll tell you what, lend me that share. I'll pay you back at a later date. Sound good? Okay. Then I sell that share for $10 and now I got $10 bill in my hand and I wait for the stock to tank. Then once the stock is worth $1, I go back to you and say, remember I said I'd pay you at a later date? Here's your $1. I made $9. What happens if that stock goes up though? When you borrow a bunch of shares and sell them for $10, yeah, you're holding $10. But then what happens if that stock goes up to $330? Now you owe that dude $330 and you only got 10. So here's what's happening. These hedge funds had shorted the market, a ton of different companies. So regular people on the forum, WallStreet Bets, have said, we are going to target what you shorted and we're going to drive the price up to destroy your companies, to destroy your fund, essentially. My favorite, there's a meme where there's people saying, it's dangerous, you're putting yourselves at risk. And then it's like an IQ bell where like the dumb people are like, LOL, it's going up. And the smart people are like, we can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent. And what that means is you've got a ton of people. You've got millions of people on WallStreet Bets. The risk to one person buying one share at $300 is $300. But when every single person does it, it becomes a kind of economic distributed denial of service attack on a single hedge fund. For them, the risk is a couple $100. But for the hedge fund, every day that price goes up, they're losing money when those get called back in, essentially. When people say, you got to pay up, can they really afford to give up billions of dollars? This could be the end for many of these companies, which is why we're seeing the markets react. We're now seeing calls from regulators saying we should put a halt on this. You are going to see the establishment elite cronies in politics act faster. You're so fast your head will spin. Check us out. GameStop, $330 today. Check us out. AMC, $16, up 236.36%. NASDAQ CEO Friedman says the exchange will halt trading in a stock if they link unusual activity to social media chatter. Here it comes, baby. They're coming for you. The regular person who wants to get in on the game. Everybody knows the risks. It's extremely risky. Let me explain something to you, right? It's possible that these irrational stocks, there's no reason for GameStop to be at 330, in my opinion. I'm not giving financial advice. The only reason I would buy it, which I have not done, is because I know people are essentially just buying like crazy. And this frenzy is leading to a massive bubble. It makes no sense. But many people are doing it because they know they're sticking it to the hedge funds and to the establishment elites. Some people might be willing to spend $300 just to make that happen. That's the only real reason I think anybody might actually buy it. I don't know. Don't look at me. Not advice. It's possible at a certain point when the hedge funds are squeezed out and are bailed out or shut down or on the verge of collapse or totally collapse, then the price will start going down as people sell. And there's no real reason to buy into the stock, so the value could plummet. You might be someone who bought a couple hundred shares at $300, a lot of money, maybe your savings, and then when it drops out, that money's all gone for you. But the issue I see here, people just got a $600 stimulus check. Some of these people don't need all of it, and some of these people are bored, so they're like, whatever, throw it in. What happens when that $1,400 drops? We are looking at the third stimulus check. When could you get a $1,400 check? My friends, it is going to be biblical. When this $1,400 check comes in, you are going to see people on WallStreet Bets and just on the internet being like, you know what, man? Let's roll with it. Some people might just throw it into the game, walk out doubling their money. That's why it's called WallStreet Bets, and that's why they refer to it as gambling. I don't want to play that game. That's just me. But some people might feel like they have no choice. So some people might just be like, I don't need the full $1,400. I know a lot of people do. A lot of people need more than this. A lot of people were demanding $2,000. Maybe they got to pay their back rent. Maybe evictions are coming. But you look at these stories where this guy claims to have made $1 million. One dude posted that he put in a couple thousand, made like 50,000. Maybe you bail out. As long as the demand is there, the price doesn't go down. So what happens if the demand never stops? What happens if people really want to drive this stock up to a ridiculous proportion like $5,000? It could happen because it's not rational. It makes no sense. The system is broken. That's why NASDAQ is saying, oh, if you talk about this on social media, we'll come for you. Social media driven trading frenzy. GameStop, AMC Entertainment sparks calls for scrutiny. That's what we heard from the NASDAQ chief. But check this out. from Barron's. GameStop trading should be halted for 30 days, says state securities regulator. The top securities regulator in Massachusetts said the New York Stock Exchange should halt trading in GameStop for 30 days so it can cool down. Retail traders often using options have helped propel the stock more than 1,000% this year, more like in the past couple of weeks. On Wednesday alone, shares were up more than 100%. Quote, I really think at this point it calls upon the regulators, in this case, the New York Stock Exchange, to consider simply suspending it for a month and stop trading it. William Galvin, the Secretary of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, told Barron's, these small and unsophisticated investors are probably going to get hurt by this. These poor rabble are going to lose their money. Let me stress for you again, my friends. I'm not here to give you advice. Do not take any advice from me because I got no idea what I'm talking about. I am not a stock trader. I'm not a financial advisor. But let me just say, simple math. If one person put in $300, they lose $300. Is that all? I mean, it's bad. Don't get me wrong. Your stimulus check, you might need it. But that's it. We're not talking about people losing hundreds of thousands of dollars, unless, of course, they made that as the stock skyrocketed and then it goes away. They never had it in the first place. But let me explain something simply to all of you. Most of you, probably not rich. Let me tell you how it works being rich, okay? You got a regular working class Joe. He gets a mortgage on a house. Let's say it's a $200,000 house. He's got a family and he's getting by. That house that costs $200,000 over his lifetime, 30 years or so, a 35-year mortgage, I should say. He's probably going to pay double what that house is worth, giving money to those banks. Here's the thing. When he buys that house, his net worth goes down. You know why? Well, there's closing costs. So here's how it works. Let's say you're going to put down 10%. You saved $20,000 for a $2,000 house. You say, I'm putting down 10%. Some people want to put down 20. Some people put down 5. Maybe you can't afford it. With closing costs, he's actually going to lose money and then accept a mortgage debt of $200,000. This working class Joe's net worth declined when he bought the house. He's hoping the value of the home will go up in the long run, but he's ultimately going to be spending more than the home's worth off his mortgage because you got to pay an interest rate. That means even when you buy property, you are still in debt. But there's a threshold, there's a barrier. Eventually you become rich, right? Now listen, poor people, or I should say non-wealthy people, not because it is not just, poor people, but even people who make a decent amount of money, maybe even a six-figure salary. When you spend money, that money's gone. When you get a loan to buy a car, you have debt. That's not how it works for the rich people. When the rich person has $1 million and then they buy a $200,000 house in cash, they don't lose that money. That money goes right into that property and they retain that value. Their net worth doesn't go down. I mean, there's still closing costs, mind you. But for the most part, they got no debt. So it's like, if they need to, they can sell it. When they have that money, they can just buy things and it doesn't really impact their net worth all that much. Now, to be fair, when the dude buys the house, he has the net worth of the house and the debt of the house. So his net value doesn't really change all that much. The same is true for rich people, but they don't accrue debt. They can just make a bunch of money, spend it, and their value is stored. Whereas those loans eat at you. There's a famous viral post from this dude who talks about, he said, being poor charges interest. Don't take care of that tooth now because you can't afford it. Well, then you get an abscess. Now it's going to cost you 10 times as much. You got some back pain because you couldn't afford a good bed. Well, now you got to go to the doctor with severe chronic back pain. It's true. So that's why I can't stand this stuff. I was shocked when I learned, and this was true for a while. I think this may have changed under Obama, that if you make under a certain amount of money, they didn't allow you to invest in companies because they have to protect the plebs. We can't have you risking your money. The rich get richer, man. That's always been the name of the game. The divide in this country has always been class-based. That's why I always stress it so much. That's why I can't stand the critical race theorists. But I tell you this, I don't care if you're a critical race theorist right now. I see many of these lefties standing up and calling out the Wall Street big banks who want to regulate and shut down the people finally standing up for themselves. And I'm like, nah, When the left comes out and they say, I agree, we all agree, congratulations. So let me clarify in case I just misspoke. These people are coming out saying unsophisticated investors are going to get hurt by this. No, you're going to get hurt by this. Your broken system is going to get hurt by this. The exporting of our assets and resources to other countries, that's what's going to be hurt by this. Joe Biden says he wants to bolster manufacturing in the U.S. Sounds pretty nationalistic. I'm all for it. Thanks, Joe Biden. And I mean it. You want to help bring manufacturing back into this country? Let's see it happen. If we see it happen, then I'll be glad it happened. These people want to play like we should sit back and let our wealth be extracted. The working class of this country, the non-elites, should have everything taken away from them, and that we should be okay with it. I have never been okay with the lockdowns simply because they've been an extraction of the wealth from the working class to the upper class. But I'll clarify. In the beginning, when it was a 2 weeks to slow the spread, I was like, yeah, most people were. And then when it went on to months, I'm like, you're destroying the lives of these people, what little they have relative to the wealthy ultra elites. Now, look, I know Americans are wealthy. I talk about it all the time relative to the rest of the world. But again, like I often add in those bits, I don't want to see people be poor. I want to see people come up. I want to see people do better. I want to see this country grow. A rising tide raises all ships. But for too long, our wealth has been extracted from the elites. And the moment that people strike back and it's becoming a meme and a trend and everyone's laughing and cheering it on, they step in and say, time to regulate. GameStop, BlackBerry, AMC stocks see trading halts as social media hype drives volatility. So what? You know what, man? They play this game all day, every day. They go on TV and they say, buy this one. And then everyone buys it. And then a week later they go, oh no, don't buy it. Quick sell. And then people panic sell and lose money and they swoop in and snatch it all back up. They did it with Bitcoin. I know I mentioned it in my previous segment. I'm going to say it again for those that didn't hear it. Bitcoin hits 40K and all these articles pop up saying everyone's going to lose everything. Their life savings will be wiped out. And then people panicked and they sold. And then when it dropped, these big, the people who can afford it came in and snatched it all up at a low rate. It's market manipulation all day, every day. They convince people. In my opinion, it's almost fraud, but it's on a large scale. So I guess I won't make that bold of a statement. Now, the White House is paying attention. Asked about GameStop stock, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is monitoring the situation. If these stimulus checks go out, $1,400, and then people who are bored and can afford to do it just dump it into a random, shorted stock because WallStreet Bets said to do it, or because people just started talking about doing it, it will be biblical, like I was mentioning. And what can the government do? They're going to regulate everything? They're going to shut it all down? Sorry, man. You can't play this game of print, devalue our currency, ship it overseas, and then not think there will be consequences for you. I warned about this. I warned about the mass printing of money. And I'm not the only one. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I'm not an economist. I'm not a stock guy. I'm not a finance guy. What you're seeing right now on the screen is the M1 money stock. And you are seeing how from what is this, January 27th of last year to now in 1 year, it's gone up something like 66%. Some insane money. They're just printing money like crazy. They're borrowing money like crazy. It's a massive spike, and it's caused people to get really worried. Now, some have said the M1 money stock doesn't track one for one with the actual economy and not to worry about it, but others say, look at that. It's unprecedented. We can go back to what? Where does it start? 1975 till today. It's never happened before. This massive amount of money printing. And so I kept saying, what do you think is going to happen? You are going to see economic instability. You just gave all of this money to all of these people in this country after shutting everything down, and you have destroyed that system, and it's your own fault. This one's on the elites. For too long, they've extracted our wealth, and now people were just handed a check from the government, and they're dumping it in stocks, which is nuking these establishment elites, these hedge funds, and their own system. And they're angry about it, and they're going to call for regulation about it to make it stop. But what do? The internet is here. People can just download an app and click a button, boom, they traded. Now, some of these apps are trying to block these trades. That's the name of the game, I guess. Rules for thee, but not for me. Let me show you something, my friends. I want to show you this image. This A. Pompliano tweeted, Wall Street hedge funds running to the exchanges to halt trading to prevent losses is another example of why the game has always been rigged in favor of the elites. When you lose, it is okay, but when they lose, the game is turned off. Yup. Check this out. See this image? The people don't know their true power. For those listening, it is a plank going off the edge of a cliff. Hanging over the edge of the cliff is a politician at a podium speaking with a dozen or so people standing on the cliff. Basically, the people are holding the plank up. And as one person walks away, the plank will begin to fall. And once everyone walks off that plank, that politician will fall off the cliff. He's only being supported by the people. I said the con only works when they have control. When the people realize their power and panic sets in, they pull the plug. I don't think it'll be enough. You can't stop people from trading. People have TD Ameritrade. People have Robinhood. People have, fund managers and have their own money managers. They're not super wealthy. And when they see the trends and they see what's happening, they can make those calls too. If they really do block or put a halt on GameStop for 30 days, it will be just another nail in the coffin. The system is in chaos, and it's been in chaos all the past year. What's remarkable now is we're starting to see Democrats lift the COVID restrictions, which should help the economy recover, which leads to a question. Either COVID isn't that bad, these new variants aren't that bad, they're saying it's really, really bad, and we can, open everything up and we're improving, or it was all a sham in the first place. Maybe it wasn't really that bad, and maybe it was a mistake. But ignorance or malice, take your pick. Hanlon's razor suggests we never attribute to malice that which can be explained by incompetence. And therefore, I'll just roll the die and say the lockdowns were complete incompetence. And it's sheer coincidence now that they're opening up right after Joe Biden gets inaugurated as president. Sure, whatever. Believe what you want to believe. Regardless, now they're coming out and telling us things are going to improve and get better. I don't think anybody cares. I think we have a generation of people who grew up with a financial crisis. We have millennials now who've experienced 2 financial crises. And it's no surprise then why you see people who are socialists or communists. I've long said that you have millennials who grew up going to school, institutionalized learning facilities, being told to college. They've never had their own jobs. And so when they get out, naturally, they're just waiting for an authority figure to tell them what to do. And I think that's true. I also think it's fair to say that millennials have now lived through 2 financial crises. From the 2008 market crash to when they were young adults looking for work. I remember it. I remember when I tried going to a hole-in-the-wall little restaurant. And I was like, I'm desperate, man. And I said, I will wash dishes. And standing behind me was a guy in a suit who was probably 10 years older who said, I'm here for the dishwashing position. I didn't get the job. Now, sometimes people are overqualified, don't get me wrong. But when it came to allowing millennials to enter a professional marketplace, to find that job, the economic crash forced people who are overqualified to desperately search for anything they could get. And that made it much harder for millennials. Then you had the COVID crisis. Now, most of them are just saying, dude, UBI, universal basic income. The games they've played with extracting wealth are finally falling apart. Now look at Gen Z. They're coming into this world for the first time, seeing a broken and fractured system. School debt is through the roof. Schools don't even get you anything, and they're becoming twisted. Not all of them, but enough of them turning in their family and posting GoFundMes to make hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're depraved because the market is fake. The system is broken, and we can see it now. And the people are playing that game back. So, of course, Wall Street's in revolt. They're not going to let it happen. I wonder what kind of regulation Congress will rush to produce. They'll say economic instability is the enemy of this country, and the volatility of these markets is hurting the working class people, these poor, unsophisticated investors who don't know what's happening. Okay. Sure. I mean, there are famous stories from WallStreet Bets. Some dude, I guess he got essentially borrowed money and then lost 50 grand, and now he's in massive debt. Yeah, it happens. And that's true. Let me just stress that, man. A lot of people are playing with fire with this, and they could get hurt from it. I think a lot of people don't care. I mean, the comments I'm seeing on social media, on Twitter about this are people saying, so what? I'm seeing people say it. They don't care. They see that they're now going to be targeting these hedge funds, and the elites are finally getting some kind of comeuppance. The mass print of money is finally negatively impacting them. And some people have said that this is for the first time, maybe a transfer of wealth from the elites to the working class. And it's not through communism. It's through their own stock exchange. I'm not an expert. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't know what's going to happen here. I just know that when they step in and put a stop in and say, we must protect the poor and unsophisticated. Nah, I call BS on that because they manipulate all day, every day. They always have. I was so sickened when they wrote those stories saying Bitcoin investors could lose everything. A disgusting lie, in my opinion. I tweeted I was buying the dip. Don't take advice from me. It is down, all right? The point is, in my opinion, based on what I know, I look to Max Kaiser. Smart dude. Been in this industry longer than I've been alive. And he's saying Bitcoin. And if I had listened to him 6 years ago, I'd be extremely wealthy. But I didn't. And I know Bitcoin's technology. And so I'm confident in Bitcoin. I'm not saying anyone else should be. I could be wrong. But then I saw these people just telling everyone. What they do is they don't give you advice. They don't say, here's what you should do. They just go, wow, look at all these dumb people. They're going to lose all their savings. Remember? I remember what happened last time, and I'm still angry about it. Bitcoin shot up to like 20K. People took out loans. People put their savings into it. And then the media came out and said, oh, no, it's so bad. You got to sell. You're going to lose everything. And then it tanked. And then people panicked and they sold. And they lost half their money. Some people, like, we mortgaged our home and then Bitcoin collapsed and I've lost everything. It was so dumb of me. And if they only waited, Bitcoin shot way back up to 40K. They could have doubled their money. I don't know exactly what they should have done. Don't look at me. I had Bitcoin. I sold at $200. I wish I didn't, but it felt like a smart move at the time. So don't take advice from me. I'm going to say that a million times. I'm just going to say this. The people in the media try and scare, they try and freak people out. They want to manipulate you into buying and selling at certain moments. They want to manipulate perception. Well, like everything else, they've lost control as the internet has emerged. Don't be surprised if YouTube strikes this video, if you start seeing social media crack down on these conversations, because they don't like it when their system is threatened. It was political. Now it's financial. And I tell you this, you hit them in their pocketbook, people get mad. But we'll talk more about this tonight. 8 p.m. live at youtube.com/TimCastIRL. We're going to talk more and more about this. It is becoming too big to ignore. And I got to tell you, I've been laughing. I've been laughing a whole lot. Comeuppance, it feels like. Karma, it feels like. I'll leave it there. Next segment will be live at the YouTube, at the Timcast IRL podcast, youtube.com/TimCastIRL. Don't forget to check out timcast.com. Become a member for exclusive members-only podcast segments. Some of these are like 20 minutes long. It's good fun. And we swear because, we can. There's no censorship. But I'll leave it there. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all tonight at 8 p.m.